excited to introduce Lauren Buxbaum, part of Agility Advisors. She is an organizational psychologist. She's an AI expert in the workplace, and we're so grateful to have her here to go through some of the exciting trends that she's seeing in AI within the HR space, as well as how people are using it today, and ultimately what we should expect for the future. So thank you, Lauren, for joining us.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. There's a lot going on. There's a rapid pace of change right now.
How are HR professionals using AI right now?
People are using it, but as you know, some of the things we talk about with our clients are the ways in which they're using it and how effectively they're using it. An example of being in prompting are you just starting at the basic level? And if you do, that's fine, but you'll also get a basic response. And what we do is we work with our clients on structuring few-shot prompting, which actually gives a more robust context, and through that you get a deeper, more productive response and just a better product to use.
How can we do few-shot prompting?
For me, it would be I am an organizational psychologist, and then I would tell it what I'm trying to do, and I might even give it some examples of what I'd like to see, what the tone might be, who the audience is. Those are ways to just give the AI more context, and a great technique is actually tell the AI, think before you respond and ask me any questions you have, because the AI actually will prompt you back with some questions. It's really neat. Even if you get a result and you like it, there might be a little element that you want to tweak or you're curious about or something didn't feel right. You should absolutely have a conversation with the AI. You should ask it, why did you respond like this? And what was your thinking about this? It actually will get into dialogue with you, and once again, you'll have a more robust output and product.
What areas of HR have you found your clients to get the most impact from using AI?
Oh, across the entire spectrum, right? Some of the low-hanging fruit right now, there's a tremendous amount of recruiting in terms of the administrative responsibilities. There are AI chatbots for scheduling, like recruiting coordinators spend a tremendous amount of time scheduling. I don't know if you've ever made the mistake that I have made where you're like, oh, let me do the scheduling, it'll just take a minute, and suddenly 4 hours later, the whole thing has blown up, and then you realize how valuable your recruiting coordinator is, right? Well, AI is a tremendous productivity improvement and enabling scheduling. That's one example. But one of the examples we work with our clients on is behavioral competency interviewing, in actually suggesting the right questions, but taking it a step further and actually scoring what's an ineffective, effective, or highly effective response. And by the way, this gets done in like minuscule minutes. I personally used to spend hours on this, as many recruiters do today.
One of the key things I think we see our clients ask questions about is the ethics of using AI within the HR space. What would your reflections be around AI and how it's deployed and utilized within the HR environment?
Ethics broadly in any environment matter, right? Like, most or many of the models out there, not most, but many of them have consumed the entire internet, right? The information out there is very biased, right? So, the responses you can receive can be quite biased, but that's where you get into the conversation and you challenge the AI and ask it what it's doing, what's it's thinking, and you can challenge it to pick up any potential bias itself. Ask it, where are you being biased here and whatnot. It's actually great at picking up bias in performance reviews, right? Or in interview feedback. Like as your interviewers give feedback on candidates, you can ask it to synthesize insights and pick up on potential biases there. So there are ethical considerations. If you care about energy consumption, AI consumes a lot of energy. Now it will get more efficient, it will get better, but right now where we are, and we're basically like 1995 of where opening up the World Wide Web was, right? Like I lived through that. I was an early adopter. There's a lot we don't know yet, and we will learn along the way. Once again, to answer your question related to ethical concerns, you have to define the framework and the context of what your ethical values are, and then put that against the AI to see where there can be potential pitfalls.
It's really a tailored experience.
It has to be, right? When you think about it, we all have different cultures across the globe. We have even microcultures, like even, I'm based in New York City. Even within New York City, there are microcultures. What's ethical to one culture might be unethical to another. You can't just spread it like peanut butter and say, this is unethical, this is ethical. You have to define what your rubric is. And then structure your AI around that.
You've said a lot that AI is your intern.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It's so smart, it's wonderful. It mimics the brain in terms of it being a statistical prediction. And I always say the brain is lazy. It consumes a lot of energy, so it likes to relax. And so what it does is it fills in. We use different parts of our brain. This is the stuff that I study,
Right.
up at Columbia University. It might actually skip a variable that matters, or it might add or use a variable that doesn't matter. And there's this wonderful study where they have wolves and huskies, and they ask the AI to predict, and the AI was using the wrong variable. It was using snow in the background. Snow didn't matter to determine if it's a wolf or husky, because when you actually look at wolves and huskies, they kind of look the same. It's hard to distinguish, and so I have a lot of compassion for the AI when it got it wrong. But what we learned and uncovered from that study is that it was just using the wrong variable. So you have to think of AI as your intern. You would never give a final product of work from an intern to a CEO or an executive. You would always review it, and that's what we highly encourage our clients to set as a best practice.
That makes a lot of sense.
It seems it, but you'd be surprised that some people don't do that,
Right.
right? What are our guidelines? Is HR teams are setting the guidelines of implementing and how to use AI, that should be one of them, right?
And I think a question that we get a lot is AI going to replace recruiting professionals, HR professionals? What do you say to that?
No, I think there'll be changes in roles. Certainly the low-hanging fruit is a lot of the administrative responsibilities, and there are things that will get replaced that free you up to do other things. We have a finite amount of time during the day, and I don't know about you, but I have always felt like I can't get it all done, but I could get more done now that I leverage the AI, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lauren, how do you see, in terms of looking to the future, how AI is going to impact HR? What would be your key predictions, your key thoughts?
A lot of AI teams have or are seeking or aspire to have data analytics and predictive analytics, and here's a very efficient way to actually start to develop that, right? If you could predict who would attrit that you might not want them to, or could you be more creative in predicting someone who has a certain skill set, and if we transfer them in a mobility to another role? It's hard to think creatively when you're in the moment. You just want to fill a role, or there's a business problem and you need to get a body in the seat. But if you could actually have a moment to pull back and have AI work with you and help you understand that somebody who has a sales skill here might be relevant to some other thing going over there, you could start to really efficiently move people around in your workforce. Of course, that's for much larger organizations, but right now we talk about moving people around, but do we do it really well? AI can really help enable that. And so there's this whole element of predictive analytics. The other aspects are just synthesizing insights. Because I study this, there's always recency bias and whatnot. We take a data point and say, that's the trend. You'll be able to actually synthesize insights in a more accurate way because you'll have data, and systems never talk to one another, and you'll start to be able to take multiple data points in and synthesize them very quickly.
I think if that point's a really good one. So many organisations that we work with and talk to have got multiple technologies that don't tie together, and that opportunity from looking at that from a people lens of drawing it together would be such a fantastic one. So he's hoping that will be one of these predictions that comes true. So.
Yeah, a huge time saver. There's other aspects and other models. ChatGPT recently dropped live mode. That has incredible implications, both positive and concerning, right? Flip on your camera and interact with the AI by just pointing your camera at data, information, or something, and start asking it questions and interacting. So that also has great implications for the future in terms of somebody wearing glasses, and once live mode is in glasses and things like that, just walking down the street or walking in an office. There's great positive benefits to that, but there's also great ethical concerns around that you have to consider.
If there was one piece of advice you could give to HR professionals and recruiters on how to leverage AI, what would that be?
Use it.
Start.
Yeah, start. I mean, I think most people have done what we call zero shot. They ask AI very basic questions. We're entrepreneurs and we're in the small business world on how quickly we adopted and how we adapted to rapidly use and integrate AI. We were surprised at how the pace of change is a lot slower in the corporate environment. And so we embarked on going out on our mission to spread the AI magic, the AI word, because using it is really important and getting used to it and not being afraid to challenge it, right? Like I share an example recently that happened to me that something was going awry in one of the AI models and it was of course at the wrong time. It's like the equivalent of the paper copy, like the copy machine jamming or the printer jamming. You need it in that moment and suddenly it's not working properly. And what was odd is I was having this very human response to it. I was getting angry, I was getting frustrated, but it was producing real, like, it wasn't even responding to me in text, it was producing crazy images. Nothing unethical, but just nothing relevant. And so in all caps, I responded to it and said, "You are hallucinating." And then it reset and said, "You're right," and it apologized, and then it actually produced what I wanted. You have to use it, and you have to work with it and understand its limitations, and the limitations will change over time, but using it is really critical.
Are there differences between how larger versus smaller companies are using AI? Is there a different opportunity and use case for companies depending on their size or even industry?
More complex organizations will have more complex systems and more complex needs to knit together multiple data sources. So AI can be effective in helping with that. So the complexity is bigger in larger organizations. What we've really seen the challenge be is that there's concern around material not public information. That's a real concern. And so what we see happening are what are called federated nodes, right? Federated models where firms really corral, right? So they might layer on top of an existing model and then corral the information. In some ways it can be limiting. Like there's an example of what's called retrieval prompting. You ask the AI to go out to the internet, look for some information, use it in some way or whatever question you had for the AI, and then produce a result. What I find is the larger organizations and the material non-public information, like they're corralling, so it limits the ability to leverage retrieval prompting, right? Like we have one client that we're working with who actually had that barrier in place. It makes sense that companies are going slow, they're trying to figure it out, and I always say, as I've shared before, it's not unlike 1995 when the World Wide Web opened up and companies were like, I'm not sure we want to do this. How do we do this if we do this? Eventually everyone caved, right? And everyone got comfortable with it. But I'm not surprised that some organizations, their legal and their compliance teams have really put the brakes on this. Here's the message though that's really important. The genie is out of the bottle. And you can't control people using it. If you don't have your AI models available to the employees, they're bringing their own AI to work. That's
you mentioned BYO AI.
That is exactly what's happening. Microsoft published a trends report in 2024 where they show, 75% of knowledge workers are using it. And so if your company doesn't have it available to them, they're bringing their own device to use it.
One of the things we see a lot, I think, from our clients is them looking to the future and how they can use AI in their sort of talent strategies, as it were.
Of course, yeah.
What's your view on for businesses and firms looking forward, how they can best use AI from their talent strategy perspective?
So talent strategies is a very big word because you think of the talent wheel, right? There's so many elements of it. There's performance management, and AI use cases in performance management are there. And look, organizations have really been grappling with the year in review, the dreaded year in review. And I would say about 8 to 10 years ago, there was a big push to dump the year in review. It's sticky, it's like gum on your shoe. It's not going anywhere. People cannot get away from it. But part of the issue of dumping the year in review was related to the fact that it was a huge time sink for people to write reviews, for people to synthesize, managers to synthesize insights for reviews. a very low-hanging fruit use case, and many of the performance management systems, if they haven't flipped on an AI model, are about to. It's already here. A manager can take 10, 12, 15 written reviews, have the AI synthesize the comments, and give the key highlights. Now here's the kicker. Remember, AI is your intern. The leader has to read it. They can't just press the button and then send it off to the employee. They must read it, they must validate it, even ask the AI why it included this or excluded that. That's really important. A compliance and legal team, to get comfortable with that, is, have them tick a button, like a little checkbox, attesting that they've read through it and they agree with it. And that can be a very simple way in order so that we're treating the AI as an intern and not as the manager itself, right? Because that would be an error.
Well, I'm so curious because we're doing this chat now. I wonder what this will sound like in a year from now, and even 5 years from now.
So different. And the thing is we don't know, right? We just don't know. We're going to learn as we go along. There's great work being done. Just the tone of AI was so different, and how the engineers are working with ways to incorporate human personality into AI in a way that feels comfortable for us.
Works with us, not instead of us.
Yes. And I do believe that. I believe AI is augmenting, not replacing.
We can bring on more clients, do more work in a short amount of time, and automate some of the more administrative tasks.
I grew up in the finance world, and I kind of saw this story in a simpler way with the generation before me. I started originally as an investment banker in the finance world, and the generation before me would talk about the war stories of taping together legal paper and having the calculator and always using pencil because they'd have to erase. By the time my generation hit Wall Street and finance, we were using Excel spreadsheets, right? And so what didn't happen is that there were fewer analyst associates. That didn't happen. They just took on more clients. They still kept us working. It was a cultural thing, but they kept working us really hard. So I kind of grew up understanding that productivity improvements in technology don't necessarily mean replace. It just means to augment and elevate. There's a very exciting trend that we're seeing in the convergence of AI technology, and it's using multiple multimedia AI. We are using text prompting to generate images, and then also taking those images, combining them with our own corporate branding, and creating video. And so we posted something on LinkedIn recently that if we had outsourced that to a production team, and look, is it of amazing production quality? It's good enough. It was like sending a message and putting something forward. And so to be able to use multimedia, to use text, to use image, and create video, and be able to create like a short clip for LinkedIn was very efficient and very exciting. And so there's this convergence of the models and the technology, and there's some really great models out there. There's some in beta testing, and there's just more to come. So what I would say is the pace of change is really, really rapid. So there's an expert that we follow who uses this particular prompt and who showed the difference between what it looked like in less than 2 years and the dramatic improvement on the output, the actual quality of the output, the correctness of the output, and then being able to take an image and create it into a video that looks so cool. I mean, you saw the video, is amazing, amazing. And that is where we are right now. We're at this pace of evolution and change that's very rapid, which is why it's very hard to predict where we're going and where we're headed, right? We know what some of the AI labs are working on, but what that actually means ultimately, it's hard to predict that. One of the things that AI can do from a global perspective is understand the global nuance, right? In a way that, sometimes, we're busy, we're working quickly, we're moving rapidly. AI can do translation really well, but also can help synthesize differences in cultural nuance in a way like just in tone and language. Are you a culture that leads from behind or leads from the front? Are you a culture that is very individualistic or very collective, group-oriented? And it can take the same policy, but orient it very rapidly. So this is the kind of stuff when you're thoughtful and you think of rewriting employee handbooks, like something as simple as that, that you might actually spend hours and hours agonizing over to improve the tone based upon the cultural nuances of wherever you are geographically around the world. AI can do for you in seconds. Like you just give it the guidance, right, and the tone. It may even know the cultural tone, and you can ask it and say, can you please make suggestions in changing or altering the employee handbook that fit in with the cultural tone of the geography or the environment in which we're playing. And that's a great use case of it.